Hello everyone and welcome back to 20ish podcast.
So we are continuing with our series India's immediate neighborhood, and today we are going to talk about Afghanistan.
Yes. So for today we are going to talk about Afghanistan, and to start with we'll talk about the US exit of Afghanistan,
Which happened on 15th August 2021.
Yeah.
And it was
and
very
it's
painful.
almost a year. So let's talk about the repercussions of it.
Yeah. So US exited Afghanistan because they were thinking that we have discussed this in our podcast earlier, because they were thinking that we are just
Wasting their resources.
Yes.
The US taxpayers' money is being wasted in Afghanistan with no concrete results.
And plus they were quite assured that now the government is stable.
Yeah.
They can look after themselves.
Can actually take over and actually restore power and be in power for long.
But what happened was, we all know, Ashraf Ghani flew the country, and the army surrendered because they had no leader in command. Even though Abdullah Saleh was there, who was the vice prime minister at that time, but even his leadership was not that
Actually, it's
strong.
not a one-man thing. We need a whole, kind of a back support for a man to control Afghanistan, because it is actually a very big state in itself, and the anarchy there has to be treated, and it cannot be treated by just one person or by one person's effort or willpower.
Yeah. So anyway, US exited, but they exited. Taliban came into power. Everything was not that shocking for someone who was following Afghanistan for quite a long time. But you know what was wrong, and we have discussed this in our earlier episode. It was that US left so many weapons
behind.
Yeah, and we know that Taliban, they are terrorists. Okay, there is nothing called good terrorism, bad terrorism.
Terrorism is terrorism.
Yeah, and they are terrorists. They got this modern American weapons for free of cost, literally for free of cost, and US wasted like billions of dollars.
Exactly, feeling bad for every taxpayer out there in US.
Exactly. So what happened. They got control of such modern weapons and such modern arms, and it was not good for the region, because of course the terrorists were using this, because now Afghanistan is under Taliban, and it has become a ground for terrorists to grow, to just
to prosper
practice.
in the region, and actually it will make whole of South Asia it is actually very troublesome for whole of the South Asia, because because a failed state in the region can actually corrupt the whole of the region.
Because terrorism will grow and prosper.
And it will try to increase its clouds.
Actually it will try to recruit more young people. And as you know that it's recession.
Kashmir is already in Kashmir has always been very much the buffer state, the buffer zone between Afghanistan and the mainland India. So of course we are trying a lot to actually maintain peace and stability in Kashmir, but with the growing terrorism in Afghanistan, of course it would be very difficult for us to maintain Kashmir. And
I don't think Kashmir only, but in India, Kerala is the state where most number of recruits take place for IS, which is Islamic State. But I think even with recession that is happening, and people are losing their job, even though of course not everyone will join the terrorism, but radicalization
will increase, because when there is no money, you need money by any way. So of course terrorism is a very good way to actually earn a lot of money.
Anyway, so US exited, and now Taliban came in power, and what a lot of people don't understand is what the Taliban government actually wants. So I think Taliban government, number one, it wants recognition.
True.
Because you see, not a lot of countries are ready to recognize the government or send their diplomats there, because they know that the country is very unstable. So many
and actually Taliban is not a legitimate government. So of course no one want to establish a relationship with a government which is not elected or by any means. It is not a legitimate government. So of course that is one big thing with the world, and I was very shocked by the reaction of the whole world when Taliban took over. Now no one did anything.
And then people in Doha it took place, I guess.
There were talks between Yeah,
You know,
with
Pakistan was
Pakistan
initiating the talks,
initiating the talks.
and you know, Russian government, US government, everyone was just coming, and they were not thinking about what these people are going to do with the normal Taliban people, especially the women.
Actually, no one thought. I mean, I am. There is definitely hypocrisy when the world talks about world peace, women's security, and all other things. But when it comes to Afghanistan, no one, literally no country in this world, actually took any initiative to look after the world peace or look after the women's. Because of course we knew what Taliban does to the women.
And you know, I mean, this is such a hypocritic thing.
Yeah, actually.
But you know, when Ukrainian refugees were coming out of the country and going to other countries, they were quite received with open arms. But when the same thing Afghani does,
Yeah.
they are not received with such open
I
arms.
remember the scenes when people were actually hanging on the planes just to get out of it, giving their kids so that they can have better life. I remember of the statement which the Ukrainian foreign minister said that every barrel of oil,
India purchases
from Russia has Ukrainian blood. So what about Afghanistan?
Well, especially I would say UN. Everything that UN does, I mean, UN is just becoming very useless
Yes,
at this
it
point.
always was, I guess.
And I had a subject called UN back in my college days. My GE was political science, so I had a subject called. In one of my semester there was this topic of UN, and our teacher was discussing, and she asked us this question that, class, what do you think? Should we, if UN is so ineffective, should we just dissolve it and form a new UN? And I was like, ma'am, but what will be the end result of it? Will everyone come together? Will they start working? Will the world prosper? Of course not. And ma'am was like, oh, well, she's talking very, practically. And I was like, well, I am very practical.
Actually, so we'll actually now talk about what else Taliban wants. We divided this into 4 sections about what Taliban wants. To start with, we talked about recognition, that the Taliban wants recognition from all
And
over the
Pakistan was helping it.
and actually, so yeah, they were trying to conduct peace talks between all the world and the Taliban, because of course no one would actually go and talk to Taliban because it is of course an illegitimate government. So Pakistan was helping them all in there. And the second is funds. Of course, Afghanistan is now a failed state. There is no source of income in Afghanistan.
A government earns income from number one, tax.
Yeah.
No one pays tax in Afghanistan because number one, they don't have any income in the first place, and then it gets grants and aids. And since this is an illegitimate government, which this government is something that people did not want, so of course no world body is ready to give them the funds, the aids, so that they can operate. And what happened was, even not Twitter, I guess Google, they logged the the Afghanistan government's accounts, so that these Talibanis cannot get access to it.
Yeah.
So no one wants them.
Yeah. The second big reason is that they want funds, and that is why they are trying to put on a show that we'll treat the women differently. We have changed over the time and all that crap.
And we have read the news, like people are selling off their children so that they can earn, they can eat something.
Actually, it reminds me of the time of the medieval age when there was no money in the area, when the Silk Route was disrupted, and then people used to sell their kids as slaves just to have money. And we haven't changed in more than 500 years, 600 years, and it pains me to see that the history is repeating itself in such a voracious way.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. So, and the third big reason is implication of Sharia.
law.
Yes.
Well, you see, Taliban, they call themselves Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, the new name of the country under Taliban government, and they want Sharia law to be implicated. Now, Sharia law is something which we can see in almost all of Islamic countries. Even UAE, Saudi Arabia, they have, but the form and the intensity with which they follow it might differ. Well, in Saudi Arabia, it's quite it's quite intense. This Sharia law, while in the UAE, it's not that intense because women can drive, they can take part in the government.
It depends on the what we say, the government's ideology behind it.
Yeah.
So
Well, even in Pakistan, which calls itself a democracy, we can see some form of Sharia being practiced.
yeah, the rules regarding that. blasphemy rules.
Yeah, well, blasphemy
Yeah.
rules are quite,
Yeah.
famous. And,
Famous.
it has got nothing to do with the government of the Supreme Court, because the Pakistani people themselves believe in blasphemy. And I don't know what is more shocking than that.
Exactly. So of course the Sharia, the implication of the Sharia is a very big thing for them, because they believe that I don't know what kind of Quran they have read, because of course no religious book would actually counter or kind of give this kind of punishment to women for basic normal misgivings. So of course the kind of thing that they follow, that women are stone pelted if they do anything wrong, or even if someone says that they are wrong, so that is really bad, I guess.
So, in the end, the thing is they just want to imply Sharia law, and they want people to happily accept it. And, well, yeah, that's it. That's what they want. And the fourth thing they want is regular relations with India, because as you know that India has helped Afghanistan a lot to grow and prosper. And I don't know what is more ironical, because it was the Afghani invader Muhammad
Gori.
who
No, he was
started.
not Afghani.
Not Mahmud Ghazni.
Ghazni was also not Afghani.
Well, there was
Ghaznavits.
an invader
Huh.
from Afghanistan who looted and plundered India and lot. And I don't know what is more ironical, that now that Afghanistan needs India, we are there for them. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, they want regular relation with India, because we help them a lot. We give them aids, grants, we help them open schools, hospitals, we give them medicines, we give them vaccines, we give
We
them
give food.
grades.
Yeah.
For literally for free.
Yeah, everything is just for free, and still they kind of despise us like they used to, but now they know that we are important for them.
They still despise us, in the sense that whatever happened with Nupur Sharma, they were quite
Yeah,
ready
yeah.
to give
Mhm.
pass comments on it.
Yeah.
Well, everyone did, but the intensity with which Taliban government did, I was literally laughing that you should be the last people to talk about religious freedom and all, because we have that in India. But I'm not sure about Afghanistan, because we see literally Sikhs being killed. The Sikh people. Every other day I hear that some Gurudwara has been blown up. Well, Jews have already left. They are quite intelligent. That they left this region, this Pakistan-Afghanistan region, long ago.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the 4 reasons why what Taliban government wants. We'll move on to the third, which is India's role in Afghanistan.
As I mentioned, this Indira Gandhi hospital, something,
Mhm.
it has been opened by
Opened,
Indian
mhm.
government, and recently India sent medicines and grains,
Mhm, grains.
and they have even sent vaccines. But you know what
Vaccines.
happens with vaccines is that when the healthcare workers of the UN, because now that the government is being dissolved, the healthcare workers of UN go to the population, and they try to give them the vaccines. They have been killed because the population themselves think that it will take away their fertilization. They won't be able to reproduce.
This is because of the illiteracy that is there.
And this is the reason why Afghanistan has never been able to remove polio.
Yeah, Pakistan too.
And the same thing happens in Pakistan. Healthcare workers are literally stone pelted there.
Yeah, actually. So that is
And it is quite an irony that India, being in the same region, literally gave like 2 billion vaccines to its people, and on the other hand we have Afghanistan and Pakistan,
Yeah,
where thanks to illiteracy, the people are suffering.
Of course, the condition there is really bad, and I don't understand that why no one is talking about them. I remember when US background, the whole of the Twitter and the social media was Afghanistan, and now everyone is mum like everything got sorted out.
If you follow along on Twitter, he posted a very good meme. I support whatever the current thing is. So then the current thing was Afghanistan. Then the current thing became Ukraine. Now the current thing might be Taiwan. So it's just popular opinion.
Also, the India, we need to understand that why was India helping Afghanistan in the first place?
Well, the foremost reason is because India doesn't want that the neighborhood gets so disrupted that terrorism starts taking place, and people doesn't start joining this terrorist organization. They want people to live normal life. See, why there is no such terrorism in US, Canada? Because people are illiterate.
Yeah, they have
have
money.
jobs.
Actually, the economic condition talks talks about it.
And that is why these regions are so prosperous, and
Yeah.
our region is not prosperous because there is illiteracy, there is no job. I mean, there are jobs, but there are, there is illiteracy.
Yeah.
There are
Actually, without education, there is not possible to provide jobs for the population. So of course, the major reason is the economic crackdown.
So that is why India wants that no country gets on the brink of becoming terrorist.
That is
becoming
why
a
they are
terrorist
even
state.
helping Sri Lanka, although they are,
Yeah, and we should discuss what Sri Lanka did.
Yeah.
So, as you know that the Hambantota port, which is now under some Chinese company, and you know that Chinese companies have their officials all over, the board of the directors. Anyway, so now Sri Lankan government, earlier it said that it will not let that spy ship enter the ports of Hambantota, but now it has revoked that. And I know why they have revoked that, because we don't know the terms and conditions under which Hambantota port was given to
leased.
China.
Yeah.
So, it's I mean, it's
Also,
about time the
in,
world understands what Chinese debt trap actually means.
Yeah, true. So, yeah, moving ahead with India's role in Afghanistan, also in the earlier times, it was said that the only buffer region that could protect India was Afghanistan. Even during the British time, the British tried to capture Afghanistan so that they can actually, keep a stronghold on India. But that was not possible for them to, and that is continuing even till day. That
Even
it is
it is quite not known by a lot of people, but the then Russian ruler Tsar Nicholas II, he was trying to capture Afghanistan and help India gain freedom.
Yeah, right. That is why during the second Carnatic Wars between the French and the British, that is what happened. The British were scared of the Russians.
I mean, that would have been amazing.
Even the Tipu Sultan, he was trying to contact Russians. So of course, that was a very big thing, and British were afraid, scared of the Russians. But of course, Russians couldn't come to India because of their own loopholes in the governance and the economic
Anyway,
reasons.
now moving ahead, so now we know the role of India in Afghanistan, because India also built their parliament.
Yeah, actually, and also the dams.
So they want this money because of course they want their government to operate.
Yeah,
They want
fully functional government.
and they want funds, and they know that building hospitals, schools, dams, parliament houses require a lot of money.
Yeah,
And
actually.
they don't have that, so they need India's support to build it. But as we know that India is not has not yet diplomatically recognized. The
Although we
government of
have
India.
started a bit of talks between the people of Afghanistan and stuff, but yeah, eventually we'll try opening, like the consulates are open because we need to help the people, not because we want to actually establish a diplomatic relation. We just want to be there for Afghani people.
Anyway, now there is this interesting part of the episode, which is Pakistan's role in Afghanistan, and we can go on chronologically
Yeah.
in it. So as you know that in our earlier episode we said that Pakistan is the real son of US.
Yeah.
So US sought the help of its son, and when Russia was trying to conquer Afghanistan, they contacted Pakistan to give them access to Afghanistan. So via the Durar lines, of course, which is very
Yeah.
famous. So as we know that US was able to defeat Russia in a way. And
Actually,
this
there
led
was
to
proxy
the
wars because Russia was, actually forced to move out of Afghanistan so that US can take over, and then
US did not want to take over, but it sought the help. See, what happened was US and Pakistan gave birth to Taliban so that Talibanis can fight the Russians and they can drive them out of Afghanistan. Well, it happened, but what else happened was, Russia went out, and then disintegration of Soviets took place in 1991 because they did not have any funds. Now Afghanistan was ruled by Taliban now, but what happened was there was this 9/11 attack, very famous attack on US, and US realized that this
they have
terrorism,
created a demand.
and this terrorism is coming from Afghanistan. Even though Osama bin Laden was a Saudi Arabian, but still, the base was
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
So from where they operated.
So US started not conquering, but trying to control Afghanistan again and again. They sought the help of their son, Pakistan. But Pakistan here played the
Played
US.
double role.
Yeah. So what Pakistan did was they were helping both Taliban and US. So see what Pakistan was doing, but was because they gave birth to Taliban. They were thinking that it will be okay if Taliban comes to power, if there is no
They'll be
legitimate
able to
government.
control them.
Yeah.
The US and Pakistan, collectively thought that they will be able to control Taliban because they are the ones who gave
After
birth to them.
2001, US was fighting Taliban, right?
Yeah.
And Pakistan was playing both sides. But anyway, after 21 years, after 20 years, when US exited Afghanistan, Pakistan was again in touch with Taliban, and even not just the government, but even the Pakistani people were supporting Taliban.
I remember the Twitter, tweets of the Pakistanis that now Afghanistan will get independence.
And what
stuff.
happened was that two things happened. So Pakistanis were calling Afghanis were very brave because they drove away a foreign master, which is not true because US never ruled Afghanistan, and this is the truth. It helped them form a government, even though they were controlling the army, but it was needed. They needed to train Afghani army to fight Taliban and other such forces.
Pakistani soldiers have been trained by the US back in the times.
Yeah. So, and the second thing which Pakistani people liked was because they were very happy that now Sharia will be implicated in Afghanistan. And I remember a video, a girl was very cheerfully saying that, wow, now Sharia will be implicated, this and that. And when the other person asked her, well, what if Sharia gets implemented in Pakistan? And she was like, no, I don't want that. And I was like, this is hypocrisy in its purest form.
Yeah, true. So of course the Pakistan gave US the access and then played both sides and actually ruined Afghanistan. And I remember that there were people in Pakistan who did not want Sharia themselves. There were a lot of videos surfacing back in the times, and then the relations between Afghanistan and Pakistan became sour because of a lot of reasons.
So now let us discuss those reasons.
Yeah.
Number one, because Taliban was not what Pakistan thought it would be. Pakistan thought that Taliban will just be their slaves, they will just ask everything before they do it themselves. But Taliban were independent in a lot of aspects. So they were not seeking help of Pakistani government, and this infuriated the government of Pakistan. And they were like, why aren't they seeking our help? Don't they want recognition? This, that. But Talibanis being Talibanis, they were doing things their own way. Yeah, and this was reason number one. And reason number two was Durand lines. And I know that a lot of people are aware of it, that Pakistan claims a lot of part of Afghanistan and Afghanistan claims some parts of Pakistan. And Durand lines was created by British. So that a consensus can be reached. But
it was just an administrative border to keep Pakistan in India control.
But Afghanistan,
which was then India.
But Taliban people don't recognize Durand lines, and Pakistan does recognize the Durand lines, and this is why the
this is the
conflict
diff between the Afghans and the Pakis.
And there was a time when Taliban was sending soldiers. They were sending soldiers to the Iranian side of the border as well as the Pakistani side of the border, because they claim parts of both the countries.
And also Pakistan did a big blunder in Afghanistan when they tried bombing the security personals, but it was actually an accident. A lot of people and women got killed in that, what they call it, like okay, leave it, I'm not getting the word right now.
Okay. So a lot of bombings and other disruptions take place in this region.
Surgical strike. Yeah, Pakistan tried a surgical strike on Afghanistan, but it failed miserably. They actually ended up killing a lot of women and children. So you can never surpass your father. Anyway, moving forward, we'll also talk about the future of Afghanistan, like what lays ahead for Afghanistan.
Yeah. So there are a lot of people who ask this question, that will there ever be a legitimate government in Afghanistan? Will Abdullah Saleh will ever come to power in Afghanistan? Will the people of Afghanistan be, not be poor in any way?
Will ever poverty, be eradicated? People will live a good lifestyle, or will there ever be, peace to
in
be
this region.
in this
So
region.
to disappoint all of you, I would say no.
Yeah, and I guess most of us know that this is what lays ahead for Afghanistan, because to have a legitimate government, we need people to be ready for it. Actually, in some way, so that they can drive out Taliban, which is very hard. If US, such a superpower, cannot do, I don't think anyone else can. And of course, US had a lot of loopholes in Afghanistan, not going back to it. But of course, for that we need.
But because there is this cycle that Afghanistan needs to follow, and I'm not sure from where this will start. See, first of all, people need to be literate, and for see, after being literate, they will start believing in democracy.
To be self-sufficient in some ways, so that they can actually earn money.
Yeah, they can earn money, and they can believe in democracy. Then they will start protesting, and then they will form a legitimate government. Elections will take place, and again people will have some good lifestyle, good infrastructure, because there is a legitimate government, there is democracy. They will know that if this government is not doing, will elect someone else. And to start with all of this, we need people to go to schools.
Yeah, actually, I remember back in school, in our history textbooks, we read about Taliban and what it did to the children and people back in 2001, and we were so terrified after reading that. And then I am really disheartened to see that day in my life when, of course, Taliban was killing women, children.
They still do.
They still
and
do.
We don't know how many people are being killed because of them.
And to be living in the same world as they, where people are getting killed, women are not being able to go to the school, don't have a voice, and I'm feeling actually a bit privileged to be able to speak today.
We are being able to speak today, we are being able to follow our passion, whatever we want to do in our life. We are living away from our family, trying to pursue a better life.
Yeah, better life.
And I don't know what is more privileged, what is more blissful than that,
actually,
than this.
And I really pity the people living, the Afghan people who did nothing to deserve this, but eventually it's their fate, and we are not able to do anything for them. And that is really something which is making us feel bad about it.
Well, anyway, we'll end this episode with a sad note, and all we can do is hope and pray.
And
We'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.